special. Prove it by being decent under pressure. That is the whole test. Not the speeches, not the moods, not the poetic self-portrait you prefer, but the ugly hour when appetite and advantage collide, and nobody is watching. Fyodor Dostoevsky laid this trap bare in Crime and Punishment through Raskolnikov, the brilliant student who convinces himself that certain extraordinary men may step over the moral law for a higher good. His theory isn't abstract. He pilots it on a living human being. The result is not liberation but fever, not grandeur but collapse. This is a mirror for anyone who has flirted with entitlement, cutting corners at work because you see father, treating loyalty as optional because you're not like other people, rewriting rules in real time because the ends demand it. Raskolnikov's error is the modern error. You think you're special. The universe asks, then why can't you be decent when it costs you? The moral law isn't a fence for dull minds. It's the structure that keeps your own weight from breaking you. As Dostoevsky reminds through a line many misread, to go wrong in one's own way is better than to go right in someone else's. He does not hand you a license to harm. He warns you that imitation won't save you and rationalization won't excuse you. The only proof of singularity is obedience to conscience, when disobedience would be easier, richer, or more flattering. If you've ever believed rules were for other people, this is for you. Raskolnikov's theory begins with a seductive syllogism. History's great actors, Napoleon, lawgivers, pioneers, offended the existing order for a higher purpose. Therefore, certain extraordinary individuals may lawfully transgress when the goal is grand enough. The move is elegant, and it flatters the clever. It recasts appetite as duty, recodes impatience as vision, baptizes ambition as moral philosophy. That's why contemporary versions proliferate. I'm not skirting the process, I'm disrupting. I'm not breaking a promise, I'm serving a larger truth. I'm not betraying someone's trust, I'm liberating both of us from petty norms. In the mind, the arithmetic is clean. In the world, blood is never theoretical. Dostoevsky's brilliance is to show that Raskolnikov is not a mustache twirler. He is half right about the cramped hypocrisies of his time. He sees the moneylender as parasitic. He sees suffering in the surrounding rooms. He wants to relieve it. But the extraordinary man clause carries a toxin. It quietly appoints the thinker as the exempt judge of ordinary restraints. The instant you decide the law binds others more than it binds you, you have already parted company with your own peace. The conscience you dismiss as convention is less a social leash than an internal keel. Cut it, and the craft still looks seaworthy for about 20 minutes. Modern entitlement rides the same rail. At work, you redefine conflicts of interest as shrewd positioning. In relationships, you rename duplicity emotional complexity. Online, you call cruelty radical honesty. Everywhere you can, you push the line and praise your courage for doing so. But the test arrives not in your rhetoric. It arrives in the weeks that follow. Are you more whole or more splintered? Are you calmer or more frantic? Are you free? Or are you scanning every corridor for contradiction? Raskolnikov's error is diagnostic. The mind that claims exemption begins to decay from the inside. There is another flaw buried in the theory that Dostoevsky exposes by narrative rather than treatise. Genuine reformers pay the price of their actions in public, submitting to the judgment of those their actions affect. Raskolnikov hides. He wants the halo without the hearing. Extraordinary men in his imagination are authors of history. Extraordinary men in reality face history's reckoning. The difference is accountability. Without it, extraordinary is just a costume for a frightened ego. If you hear echoes of your own internal briefs, the long speeches explaining why your small dishonesty was necessary, why your explosion was strategic, why the invoice you padded served a larger justice. Take the hint. Raskolnikov's theory doesn't make villains. It makes self-deceived men certain that their exception will be the first in human memory to end well. It never does. The moral law is not a fence you hop. It is gravity. You can defy it for a moment. Then you land, and the bill is due in bones. After the murder, Dostoevsky refuses spectacle. He offers fever. Raskolnikov's mind fractures into hot shards. Lucid rationalization in one moment, delirium the next. He sleeps for days, stumbles into half-confessions, scalds with contempt, drowns in tenderness, and invents 1,000 intricate stories to keep his theory intact. Calculation becomes maintenance. Maintenance becomes mania. The body keeps score for a soul that dared to call itself a calculator. This is the author's courtroom, not the magistrate's bench, but the nervous system. You can pronounce yourself extraordinary. Your heart rate will file a dissent. The genius of crime and punishment is to show conscience as a fact, not merely a doctrine. Raskolnikov's torment is not only fear of getting caught, it is the invasion of meaninglessness that follows self-willed exemption. He discovers that knowledge of evil is not power over it. He has explored the boundary and found not mastery, but nausea. He is ill not because society disapproves, but because the soul cannot be bullied indefinitely without retaliating with symptoms. Rage, contempt, paranoia. A hatred of the very people who offer him grace. Sonia's pity is unendurable, not because it threatens exposure, but because it contradicts his proud fantasy of being beyond ordinary duties, one of which is to be loved and to accept it. Modern transgressions spark the same physiology, even when the stakes look smaller. Cheat at work and you will live in 2 times. The present you inhabit, and the imaginary future interview where you might be asked to explain that spreadsheet. Betray a partner, and you will inhabit 2 rooms. The one where you speak, and the one where you rehearse your alibi. Step outside clear law for special reasons, and you will become the auditor of your own life, constantly reconciling the books of reputation and reality. That audit does not end. The fee is continuous attention to self-image. The mind that sought freedom from restraint becomes a prisoner of maintenance. Dostoevsky does not argue that conscience is a social fiction. He demonstrates that it is a structural pressure inside human beings that rewards decency with coherence. Calculation can delay, disguise, reroute, but not resolve this pressure. Raskolnikov discovers that reality cannot be permanently managed by cleverness. The act changes him, and the change displays itself in involuntary tremors. An overheard laugh he cannot abide, a detective's gaze that seems omniscient, the way a trivial detail becomes a thunderclap because it recalls the door he forced. The self-appointed extraordinary man is, in practice, extraordinarily thin, because he is spending himself on internal spin. If you've ever wondered why an unethical win felt like a loss, you already know Dostoevsky's verdict. Conscience is not a sermon in your head. It is the architecture that allows your mind to stand under weather. Decency under pressure isn't piety. It's the cheapest way to remain a single person, rather than a committee of defenses. You can be brilliant and broken into factions. The moral law exists to prevent that civil war. Porfiry Petrovich, the examining magistrate, hardly appears as an avenging angel. He is playful, teasing, almost fatherly. His method is patient pressure. He doesn't smash Raskolnikov's theory. He lets it speak until it contradicts itself, then leaves silence in which the contradiction grows unbearable. This is how rationalizations collapse in real life. A question at the right time. A document that doesn't match a story. A gentle look from someone whose eyes you trust. The weight of what you cannot now unknow. You can keep law at bay for an hour. You cannot keep coherence at bay for long. Raskolnikov's defenses are sophisticated. He appeals to outcomes, what good he can do with stolen funds. He appeals to hierarchy, how some lives count more than others. He appeals to history, how all progress requires broken eggs. And still, his heart will not let him rest. The mind can always supply another paragraph. The body insists on a verdict. Dostoevsky refuses to let abstract utilitarianism rescue his protagonist. There is a person lying in the road. Your theory must step over her body to reach its higher good. If your philosophy asks this of you, the flaw is not in your tenderness, it is in your philosophy. In modern key, the collapse sounds like this. It was just a white lie that led to 3 more. It's not cheating if we haven't defined it. That becomes a speech delivered to a face you once cherished. Everybody pads their hours. That ends in a cascade of resignations. Rationalizations are cheap at retail. Ruin is expensive at scale. Porphyry is every accumulation of reality you thought you could finesse. He is the colleague who quietly keeps receipts, the partner who remembers your vows, the child who looks at you with trust you did not earn today. You can outtalk them. You cannot outlast the pressure of the truth they carry. Here the famous line returns with its full weight. To go wrong in one's own way is better than to go right in someone else's. Raskolnikov's wrong in one's own way is not license to harm. It is an indictment of borrowed virtue. He took a rightness, not his, an ideology that excused cruelty, and tried to wear it as a crown. Dostoevsky prefers the fall of an authentic man to the rise of a counterfeit, but better still is to go right in your own way, to discover in suffering and responsibility that the moral law must be owned, not outsourced. When you stop renting your ethics from clever arguments and start paying for them with action, rationalization loses its oxygen. You no longer need to be extraordinary, you need to be answerable. The long game beats the quick brief. Porphyry wins, not because he is brilliant, but because truth is patient. It lives in quiet corners of your life waiting. If you want to be free of his smile, choose coherence now, when the cost is reputation rather than character. Choose to be seen as ordinary rather than to become divided. Dostoevsky does not end with handcuffs. He ends with a soul re-entering its rightful home. Sonia, poor, dishonored, luminous, becomes the witness Raskolnikov cannot deflect. She does not out-argue him. She outlives his arguments with love. When she places the New Testament in his hands and asks him to read, when she walks with him to the crossroads and tells him to bow to the earth he has defiled, she is not performing piety for an audience. She is teaching him the only way out: confession, acceptance of sentence, and the transformation of pain from punishment into purgation. Dostoevsky's universe is brutal and tender at once. You cannot think yourself back to wholeness. You must suffer your way through to it, and suffering must be chosen to save it from becoming mere injury. Modern ears bristle at suffering, hearing only self-hatred. Dostoevsky means the opposite, the end of self-adoration. Confession restores proportion. To say aloud what you did, without the muffling rhetoric, is to evict the idol of your specialness. Accepting consequences, legal, relational, professional, is a return to the human order where people cannot eat each other and prosper. Raskolnikov's Siberia is geographic, but your Siberia might be the job you must take to repay what you stole. The season of loneliness after you break a cycle of duplicity. The quiet months of rebuilding trust, one small kept promise at a time. This is not theatrics. It is the refusal to let pain go to waste. Sonia's role teaches another modern heresy. Mercy does not negate law, it completes it. She does not tell Raskolnikov that his crime was an error in reasoning. She tells him it was sin, and she proves she believes in his worth by demanding he confess. In our time, support is often code for the suspension of standards. Dostoevsky's support is harder and kinder. I will not abandon you to cleverness. I will walk with you into the court. If you have transgressed, begin here. Turn talk into a record. Admit it to the right people. Ask for the right penalties. Do not crowd your confession with scripts about growth to harvest premature absolution. Live the sentence until it works on you. If you have not transgressed but feel the pressure to justify future ones, spare yourself the Siberia now by honoring constraint today. Choose humiliation over hidden rot. The miracle Dostoevsky records is that the man who accepts limits becomes larger inside them. The man who rejects them shrinks until he can only be measured by his lies. When Raskolnikov at last breaks, when tears he could not bear fall freely, when the hardened irony yields, Dostoevsky calls it a resurrection, not of status, of personhood. That is the reward, to be one person again, rather than a defendant assembling footnotes. Suffering, accepted, gives you back your name. There is a quiet hero Dostoevsky admires more than any theorist. The person who does the obvious good when it pinches. The clerk who returns the wallet and never mentions it. The sister who keeps her promise to a feckless brother without selling her soul. The laborer who refuses a theft everyone else rationalizes because the boss is rich. Raskolnikov thought greatness required an extraordinary exemption. Dostoevsky whispers the inversion. The surest mark of distinction is fidelity to ordinary decency when it exacts a price. This is not mediocrity. It is mastery of self so unshowy that modern eyes miss it. The manager who gives credit and takes blame. The founder who forgoes a shortcut because it would teach his team to lie. The partner who tells the hard truth once, cleanly, instead of manipulating consent. Under pressure, these habits look small. Over years, they construct a soul that does not tremble. You cannot perform your way into that architecture. You must build it, act by act, until normal temptation meets trained refusal. Then you do not need a theory about extraordinary men. You have become an ordinary man who can be trusted, a rarer creature than history admits. Raskolnikov's fantasy appeals because ordinary has been slandered. But ordinary goodness contains more courage than any manifesto. It endures boredom without cheating. It endures insult without vengeance. It endures opportunity without theft. Those sentences are not slogans. They are the grain of character, special. Prove it by being decent under pressure. If your excellence cannot coexist with decency, it isn't excellence. It is appetite wearing a laurel. This way of life clarifies relationships. The person who needs you to suspend your basic law to prove love is asking you to become less real for their comfort decline. The colleague who wants a favor that compromises your name is asking you to finance their future at your expense. Decline. The culture that laughs at honor as corny is asking you to subsidize its cynicism with your insomnia decline. Being decent will offend some rooms precisely because it makes their favorite games harder to play. Let them be offended. It is not your job to fund other people's contempt for constraint. Dostoevsky does not ask you to be naive. He expects you to see the rot and choose straight lines anyway. The man who does this becomes strangely light. He wastes no time rehearing trials in his head. He needs no elaborate alibis because he has chosen a life that can be spoken plainly. When setbacks come, he suffers cleanly, not with the extra weight of secret guilt. When success comes, he enjoys it without the metallic aftertaste of theft. He is boring at parties and indispensable when the building catches fire. Raskolnikov wanted to be indispensable in history. Dostoevsky proposes a harder ambition. Be indispensable to the few who truly know you, because your decency under pressure makes their lives livable. The underground courtroom is adjourned. The Siberian wind has done its work. And Dostoevsky leaves you with a simple, humiliating task. Refuse the identity of the extraordinary exemption and embrace the ordinary law that tests you when nobody applauds. Make your proof not in grand gestures, but in repeated decencies. You are not asked to sterilize the world with rules. You are asked to become a person whose word and work do not require supervision. That, today, is rarer than genius. Expect the old flattery to return. It will arrive as urgency. This one time. It will arrive as romance. No one understands us. It will arrive as grievance. They owe you. It will arrive as destiny. You were meant for more than these petty limits. Smile once. Decline politely. Choose the pressure you can live with. The pressure of obedience is felt now and fades by nightfall. The pressure of exception is delayed and grows until it owns you. You do not need to be heroic. You need to be answerable. Carry Dostoevsky's misread line the right way. To go wrong in one's own way is better than to go right in someone else's. Do not borrow philosophies as cover for appetite. Do not outsource conscience to a clever tribe. If you err, let it be on the side of keeping faith too firmly, rather than breaking it too easily. Let it be the error of overpaying rather than underpaying, of over-disclosing rather than under-disclosing, of over-owning rather than under-owning. The world is not seeking more exemptions. It is starving for men whose decency holds when it is expensive. You've reached the end, which already separates you from the part of you that prefers admiration to duty. If this pierced your rationalizations and gave you a way to retire the extraordinary man costume, without retiring your ambition, mark it publicly. Say one pressure you will face this week, at work or in love, and one non-negotiable you will honor when it hits. Put it below in the comments. Share this with a friend who keeps reinventing excuses and with a colleague who is tired of cleaning up after special people. Subscribe if you want literature sharpened into a discipline you can live. And tap like so that the next time entitlement whispers that rules are for other people, you remember that the strongest thing you can do is prove you're special by being decent when it hurts.